Hello, everyone. I'm not sure if you can hear me. I don't hear Ash in the room. It's Jeff, of course, and I'm in a remote location on a phone, so it's just a little bit difficult to know exactly what's going on here. I can't select my screen even at this point, which is a little bit frustrating. So we might have to wait till Ash comes in to allow us to continue the show. A lot to talk about, of course, not least of which will be the MPC summary coming up later today. And as I say, I can't share my screen with you, otherwise I would, to show you what's coming up in terms of news later in the day. It would appear that everyone is considering there will be no rate change at all on the pound. I think that's pretty much a given. And the only thing really that is of interest is which way the Monetary Policy Committee see the short, medium, and long-term future, I suppose, more so the short and medium term than the long. But nonetheless, quite a possible market mover will be that headline act of the day, the MPC summary, as a result of the votes on the interest rate. Now, a couple of things that I can mention without showing my screen. First up, tried to get long euro all day yesterday, and no setup, didn't come. And am I still of that mindset? You bet I am. So I'm still waiting for a setup long on the euro. I've got an order on the pound long as well on the daily chart. That may well have to be cancelled, I think, unless, of course, we get some early action that takes us in and gives us something to take profit from before the MPC summary. And the risk, of course, is with the MPC summary, we could have a situation where the market reacts to the first thing out of the mouth of the chairman, and then he says something completely different, and the market goes in the opposite direction. So we'll be a little bit tricky to stay in the markets without profit in the bank on that.
Good morning, mate. Sorry, I can. You're on your phone, so you don't have any
I can't
chart.
do anything.
No problem, mate. No problem. Sorry, thanks for covering. I just
That's okay.
Yeah, I had a bit of a late one. So don't worry, mate. What are you somewhere else? Are you?
Yeah, I'm on Mars. No, I'm just on the mainland, mate, of Australia, and
okay.
Don't have much equipment with me. That's all.
Fine. That's fine, mate.
But
That's fine.
I'm happy to be here, and I can offer a few things. I just can't toggle. You'll have to, if we need to, or when we need to share screens, you'll have to give it to me. That's all.
Oh, so you have a screen?
Yeah. I just can't show it to you.
Fine. Okay, no problem. All right. Well, in that case, did you want to start? I mean, the FTSE is, I think, pretty self-explanatory from what we have with the
It's not
channel
going
here.
too far, is it?
No, it hasn't gone too far. I'd say what's quite good about this is the fact that we've got we're right on the channel. So if it's going to break down, it's got to break down here, which means the price will be slightly better than the price that I entered on will be slightly better than the signal will suggest, which is good. And it's also under the daily pivot, which I quite like as well. So there's a few things, but there's one other aspect which I quite like about this chart now, and makes it a little bit more, I guess, a little bit more likely, you could say, tiny bit more likely than it was yesterday to break down, and that's the fact that we now have a bar of indecision. I mean, it doesn't suggest that it's necessarily going to come down, but it does suggest that this pause is either going to last for a little while. Obviously, a break to the upside could happen, and the break to the downside, because of the level, I think just becomes the more likely show here. So that's the one aspect of this trade. So we can leave things in the market, see what happens, and just, I guess, hope for the best in some respects, but I'm not too concerned here. It's it's really a bit for me from here on in. It's how I choose to hedge this, because there are a few different ways to do it. The daily is in overbought territory. The 4-hourly is in overbought territory. So it does suggest that there could be some easing back down again. Obviously, it could just embed. You know, that's the thing. The 4-hourly. Sorry, the hourly. There.
In terms of the trade, where are you, mate? You slightly
I'm just
positive, or what?
Oh yeah, slightly. Yeah. We are 10 pips to the good at the minute.
Okay, so is there any thought to protect that as we go into MPC summary?
No, I'm not going to do that. Because you know, in some respects, that announcement will take this market one way or the other. But I think it will settle down and give me another opportunity when it's settled down. I'm not really interested in kind of trading around the emotive report.
Yep.
The announcement. I've got a feeling that it probably won't break down before that. That's the only thing here. So I've got to sit through quite a lot. But no, I don't think so. I mean, if the MPC isn't the driver to the downside, the question really from there on in is, does it become a driver to the upside? Because you know, a lot of it is already kind of priced in. So actually, the dip. Oh yeah, the dip looks pretty good. Yeah, the dip looks really good from there. If this channel is to break down and we get the measured move of that channel, that looks pretty good. So I'm happy just to hold on to it and see, you know, what's to happen from here on in.
Okay.
I mean, I might regret that. Yeah.
It was still hanging by my thumbnails, waiting for the euro to turn around. It just doesn't look like it's going to anytime soon. However,
yeah,
we are at my my very favourite level, 113.60, and I can't take the screen. So if you want to give it to me, give it to me.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And the issue, of course, that I have at the moment is more than one. We've got a very strong signal to the downside, very strong momentum to the downside. We are at 113.60, which is, as I say, a very important level for the euro. It hangs around here quite a lot. So the question mark for me is, do we continue this bearish momentum until we get to here and then bounce back to 113.60 and maybe continue on? Maybe we break out of this range. Look, that's not my... I'm not sure if it's bias analysis or,
you know, mate, your
wishful
screen's
thinking.
not actually showing.
Sorry?
Your screen's not showing.
I don't know that I can do anything, mate.
Oh, okay. So I've given you the screen, but you haven't got any visual. You haven't actually got any visuals
of you. No, hang on a sec. Let me see if I can do something. I've got the control panel there, but I can't see my screen.
No, I can't see the screen. Okay, well,
I mean, I can't see my screen. I can see my screen on my computer, but I can't see my screen in the show.
No, it's not on.
Maybe I need to adjust my settings. Let me try that.
Okay.
Maybe there's some screen settings I can fix here.
Oh, I've got to tell you about the latest update of Brexit as well. There's been some pretty tough language going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From Eurozone side.
Yeah, from the Eurozone side. Yeah.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, well, they're you know, it's hotting up, isn't it? You know, as we kind of approach the end here, it's starting to really hot up. You know, 49 days I think there is left to go.
Okay, display.
No, we got no visual. I'll just check the.
I wonder why that is.
I'm not sure. I think we got two options, but you know, you're welcome. You're welcome to nick off and do what you're doing, mate. You don't have to be in here. Or I can show a screen if you can do the analysis off. It's not going to be easy though because you're not going to have any lines.
No, that's all right. I don't need lines. Let's try that.
Okay. What do you want? Do you want pivots? I should have a Jeff setting, shouldn't I? I can give you a Jeff setting.
Well, I'll just use my screen. I can see my screen on my computer.
Yeah.
I just can't share it with you for some reason.
Okay. What we're looking at, the euro?
let's look at the euro, shall we?
Okay. There's the euro. Okay.
All right. I've got the daily chart on my screen.
Okay.
And from the daily chart, you can see 4 of the last 5 bars, and currently the next bar or current bar is pretty much as bearish as you're going to see off a resistance level. That resistance level is around about 114.70 mark. And I've got that as the top of the recent range, which began, let's say, on around about the end of October.
Yeah,
and
in
the
October.
low of that range is around about 112, right on 113 is the low of that range, and the high of that range is at 114.70.
Okay,
So
114.
there's 130 pips of range.
And
Now, what we've got is this very bearish momentum that continues on, and has now reached a level, as I said, it's a personal favourite level of mine, 113.60. And shall I be trying again to get involved?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I will.
Well, why is this a personal favourite level of yours?
Mate, because when I was trading the euro exclusively, 113.60 just seems to be there forever when we go into consolidation area. I wish I could show you on my screen, but if you go out to a wider chart, you'll probably see that where the current level is, go back to where are we? I've gone pretty wide on a weekly screen. If you go back to August of 2018, we bounced off that level. You can see that the current range is bang on that level. You can see that in August of 2016, we found strong resistance at that level. And during that same year, we had a hell of a time trying to get through that level. If you go back further and further and further, the further you go back, that level just keeps cropping up.
Yeah, so just talking about this middle line here, which I'm going to make red. Just for right now.
Just bang 113.60 on your chart in a significant fashion, and then go back on the weekly chart and see how many times it's been reacted upon or reacted to. It's a strong level.
Yeah, that level there, and we do it on a weekly. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Does it look good on your chart? I hope it does. It should do.
Yes, this level here, yeah, banged it there, through there. Yeah, they see it, definitely see it there as well. Yeah, and it's got a bit scruffy recently, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's all over it, isn't it? You know, the current range is all over that level. We've been above it, below it, and now we're bang on it again. So, what do we do with it? How do we deal with it? Well, the same as I deal with everything, I suppose. If I go back to my daily chart now, I've got that range depicted as what did I say, 114.70 to 113. Well, we're bang in the middle of that range, and that's a B. I was going to say bastard, but I thought I'd better not.
Yeah.
But my thought process, as always, is when we get to a strong level, we tend to we find support there, and we're looking for a bounce. So whilst I've been looking for a reversal all week, finally I've reached this level that's it is so evident to me that if there is to be a bounce, then this is going to be it. I would say, I'd go so far as to say, if this level doesn't hold, then the euro is going to break the bottom of this range, and we're off to the races. We're going to crash.
You think if the level that we're at? Thank you, by the way, Melvin. Melvin was just letting us know I was still on your screen, so I've just come back onto mine. But yeah, so you
on
say
my screen.
No, we're on mine. We've been on it a little while. It's just I missed the message a minute ago. So you think if we break this 113.60 level that we're at now, then we are going to crash down to 113.
I'd go so far as to say we'll get down to 109.50.
Really? Okay, let's put that in. Okay, 109.50. So you think if this level goes, the next levels don't hold, they don't have a chance?
Oh, look, everything's got a chance, but so strong as this level, I think once it breaks, and when I say breaks, I mean breaks and retests. I don't mean okay, we get a close on an hourly chart below it. That's not what I
Yeah.
mean.
Okay.
I mean if it goes,
Yeah.
then we're off to the races.
We're probably looking at a weekly chart close, really, are we?
I'll probably go with the daily, but
The daily. Okay.
no, let's go your way. Let's be a little bit more conservative and go weekly. Yes, there's a
Okay.
close below that on the weekly. So tomorrow we close at, let's say, 112.95.
Yeah.
Then you'll see me a bear on Monday morning rather than a bull, as I am
Yeah.
still a bull.
Yeah. So you're still a bull. Okay. So let's talk about what we need to see today for us to is there likely going to be a trade today that we're looking at?
I take a lot of beating, don't I? Or convincing.
Well, it's do you know what I find really interesting about this euro is the fact that we have got Chairman Fed Powell out later on, and I just want to bring this into some context of
Sure.
data for everyone, and let's come out of that a second. I'm not sure why YouTube is just getting sticky, and we'll get a little update on Brexit in a moment. Okay, so I'm just showing everybody Forex Factory so you can mirror what we're doing if you like. So what we have is at 12 a.m. UK. Now it's currently current up to 8 a.m. UK. So in around about 4 hours time, we have got the Fed Chair Powell speaking. Now what's really interesting about this is where I'm trading the FTSE. If the FTSE starts to, so if the chairman comes out and says that interest rates will be on hold, or he's listening to the market, or any kind of dovish stance on his statement, is good for the stock market, because that means that the best place for people to put money will be continue to be in stocks rather than to be in cash, because they won't be getting the returns. So that's one aspect of it. So that would suggest that the dollar would weaken. So if we're looking for stronger stocks, we're kind of looking for stronger dollar in this particular scenario, because they're going to be correlated. Because if there's no interest rate rise, then that would suggest that that the dollar is going to be either fair valued as it is, or overvalued as it is. So what I find interesting about this is that we still have some bullish sentiment with the FTSE. So they're not really quite sure there, but the euro has been weakening against the dollar. I mean, yesterday's bar was fairly significant, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Look, I think thankfully so. If it was a little less decisive, then maybe I might have found an entry long. But thankfully, I didn't.
Yep, yep. But it was decisive, and I think I'm double checking. The dollar against the yen was nowhere near as strong. Interestingly, the dollar versus the Swissy was, but that's not really. I see the Aussie dollar was weak, so the dollar strong there. Against the pound, it was fairly flat. Dollar CAD was strong. So the dollar really has had some decent bullish price action, over the last day, and this is this is impossible preparation for the Fed chair speaking today. So I find it quite interesting. I mean, maybe this is
I've actually got him speaking overnight, like already happened.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Let me just double check here.
But I haven't refreshed my chart. Maybe I should do that. It's
yeah, I mean, I've got it on Forex Factory. You got it overnight, have you?
Yeah, I got it happening 7 hours ago, nearly 8 hours ago.
You're absolutely right. Sorry, mate. You're absolutely right. That is what happened. That is what happened. Sorry, that was my mistake. I was looking at 12 and thinking it was 12 noon, but it's not. It's 12 a.m. You're absolutely right. So, okay, in that case, I find that even more interesting. Why is the FTSE not breaking down if the dollar has strengthened so significantly? What was said? And I think we're going to have to look into it, aren't we?
Yeah, don't know. Clearly, I've been travelling, so I've got no idea what was going on.
Okay, we're going to have a look at this, because we'll bring up.
Whilst you're finding that, and you mentioned the Aussie there, that had a
Yes.
shocker yesterday. Remember
Yeah.
on Monday I said if tomorrow the RBA statement is as I expect it to be, which is okay, they're not going to talk anything outside perhaps interest rate cuts rather than interest rate rises. They didn't say that, but guess what? Philip Lowe said yesterday.
What was
He
that?
hinted at that, and that's why the Aussie crashed.
It crashed because Philip Lowe hinted at what? Sorry.
The next round of interest rate changes will, or not will, he said, may well be cuts.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
Wow. Well,
Remember, I was talking about that on Monday, talking about an overcooked. Well, not now. The potential bubble burst, as some people would have it, but certainly the correction in the real estate market.
Yeah.
Here in the major capital cities.
Yeah.
And that would tend to suggest, if it does go further and further, that will need stimulating.
Yes.
And therefore, they're certainly not going to rise or raise interest rates in that environment.
Yes.
And therefore, the other side of that coin, of course, is to cut them. So it's going to depend a lot on what happens in the next few months.
Yeah. So we are looking at a potential cut for the interest rates.
Yeah, look, I think they're of the same thought in a few places, actually, not least in New Zealand. I think I've heard that rumble as well. So it's pardon me, it's certainly not a fait accompli that the world is going to follow the Fed.
Yeah.
And the Fed may find itself standing way, way above everyone else in terms of interest rates.
Yeah. Well, it has done so far. I mean,
Well, it is absolutely,
obviously,
and that's why the dollar is buoyant, because everybody has to buy US dollars.
Yes. Yeah. Now I'm trying to find some news here, but I'm struggling, I've got to say, and I don't know why. I just can't seem to find.
Are you looking for Powell's speech?
Yeah, and a Bloomberg feed, which they've either clocked onto me, because you got to pay for Bloomberg, and
Yep.
I don't know how, but I've managed to be watching it on YouTube for about a year for free.
They found you.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, I didn't put it up there, but I've been obviously enjoying whoever did put it up there. But yeah, all of a sudden, I can't seem to watch it anymore, and I don't know. I don't know if I can find it. It's going on there, but it's some sort of awful Bloomberg report rather than the
Live
actual
data.
show. Yeah, rather than the live. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, let's have a look. See if I can find it. If I can't, then I'm not going to be able to find out about this this Fed. Gutted. Yeah, I've got. Yeah, it's just on an awful rolling thing about Picasso, which I'm sure is very, very interesting for anybody that's into the history of art. But for me, I'm trying to find out what Fed Chair Powell said. So this is no good. I
know one out of the people in the room isn't, and that would be me. So I don't know how many want to count themselves in on that. But I'm amongst them. So let me talk about the euro again and how and why I've still got this bullish attitude. Daily chart, mate.
Okay. Yep. On the daily.
Okay. Two ways to look at this. One is we've come off the top of that range with the high test bar 1, 2, 3, 5 candles back, and we've done nothing since except go south. That means there's been no lower high for me to trade, that is short, and that doesn't mean my bias is based on, okay, the market won't let me in. my bias is based on the fact that until that high that we've just come off, we were cycling very, very nicely. Higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows on the daily chart. I guess that emotive move 3 weeks ago threw that out of cycle, but it was an emotive move and we bounced straight back off it. So to my mind, the fact that we didn't go much lower than that is still within the cycle, if you like, for me. The issue is that lower high that we've just put in, but I still believe we're in for retracement on this move, which is now overcooked. And we're still looking for that lower high, perhaps off the pivots. So I'm still looking to trade back to the pivots. And if I don't get the chance, I don't get the chance. And if it keeps going, as I said, there may well be a significant drop here.
Yes. Well, I find the FTSE 100 a little bit surprising how that's held, but certainly the euro and the Aussie and the others. I know what you said about the Aussie, but if they're all linked somehow to the dollar, there was general dollar strength. So it doesn't sound like he said anything completely stand out, because the dollar yen didn't seem to strengthen. But why the euro is weakening where so significantly where the yen held, I don't know. Maybe this is euro related. I mean, quickly to a Brexit update.
Yeah, look, EuroCAD's still going strong. You know, the trade I'm in on EuroCAD is still going strong. So
oh, great. Okay.
It's tough to draw a correlation.
Okay. Well, let's have a quick check on Brexit, and a check on the FTSE as well.
Mind you, dollar CAD's going very well too.
I've managed to find. So yeah, that could be a dollar. That could be a CAD story.
It's a weak CAD. Yeah.
I'm just going to have just a quick look at oil as well, just because of what you said about the CAD.
I haven't got all on my chart, so you have to tell me.
Wow.
I haven't got room.
Good numbers from an oil giant. I've just heard. I've managed to find Bloomberg. Yeah, I mean that looks fairly weak. Do you know what? It's funny. I can't look at charts when they're too big like this. Can't see enough information. That looks a little bit weak, but it looks like it's still holding out there. Inverted head and shoulders has played out now because this right shoulder is far too long in the tooth. So we got a kind of a different pattern here. There's a little channel that goes on here. This is still bearish ultimately. You know, we don't really see WTI completely breaking through this area here. And when we break into a weekly chart, then I mean, there's a hint actually, isn't it, that we got a higher high on oil. And you don't have the chart there, unfortunately, but we do have a hint that there's a higher high here. So maybe we do actually start to see oil grind forward here. It's this would be something that I think would be worth being speculatively bullish on at the monthly pivot. So it does suggest that we could drift back down again, which could help a FTSE trend to the downside. And maybe the CAD will pull that CAD down a little bit further. But I think this will probably find a footing at some point. Quickly to the FTSE. Sorry, mate. Go on. Were you going to say something?
We seem to be through that level. We seem to be through that horizontal level. If you put that line back on, up a bit higher.
One here. Yeah.
Next one.
Oh, up here.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
We seem to be through it. So
yes,
it's tough not to be bullish. This, I think.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It does look like we could be bullish on this one. Maybe a dip down first, and then maybe to the monthly pivot. Don't watch oil enough to kind of I get a really good feel of this chart.
I just check it when I'm looking for a CAD confirmation or something.
So that's of interest. FTSE's really interesting. The FTSE's taken off this morning. After meandering fairly low, all of a sudden it's starting to. And we'll have a look at this on a 15-minute chart here. Pretty bullish looking bar so far. Not too concerned. I'm not going to do anything with the chart here. And as I say, this may still break forward. That's the resistance area, and that's the area that a hedge could be considered. but inevitably we're gonna get some price action, which is probably going to be a little bit tough to get through the lower levels here, because this is still a pretty strong looking channel. That's what we're looking at for everyone out there, and all we've done so far is bounce off that channel. Now that could definitely take us higher, which I don't mind. I don't love, but I don't I'm not gonna panic too much if that does start to get through this area here. So really the FTSE's in wait and see mode. Interestingly, I didn't need to enter yesterday, so that's the only takeaway with this. I was so keen to get in because it was at my level that, and it's not that I didn't wait for a signal, because there was a signal, and I did say I'd take a weak one, but actually I didn't need to get in so early because this hasn't really gone anywhere. So the money's been tied up in this particular trade for 24 hours for no reason. But we'll see if there's any break today. So back to some news and data. Interestingly, because of China's holiday this week, do you know what I think could also happen? And that's maybe this. Let me just bring this back to a chart which is easier to look at. Get rid of that. What I think could happen is that we end up with a weekly. Let's get rid of this weekly one as well, just for now. Do that. This is a weekly chart. What I think could end up happening is we close at the highs by tomorrow, and then we're looking at next week. So this is why the hedge for me becomes a little bit tricky, because what I think could happen is that we could spike up and then start to fall. Which is why I'm going to leave things as they are, and I probably won't hedge just above this level. I'd like to see how this week plays out before I worry about the hedge. Now, obviously, if it really takes off, then that's going to be a completely different story. But I don't see anything else out there that would be a catalyst for that. There could be some unknown aspect, an unknown piece of data or news that I as yet hasn't been reported to be announced that could make this market take off, and that would change how I trade it. But for right now, I don't really see too much which is going to take this too far beyond my entry. So I'm quite happy just to sit tight with this because, as I say, I'm wondering whether actually by the end of the week we end up here, and then the retracement starts to come in next week. Mm-hmm. So I might be a few days early on this one, but as long as it doesn't.
What were you going to tell me? News.
What about Brexit?
Yeah.
So this is really cool. Well, I like it anyway. Donald Tusk, who is the head of the negotiation, and I think the head of the council, maybe. They have so many different heads. Juncker's one, and he's another one.
That's what that's what they say about us Tasmanians.
What's that? Too many heads.
So we got more than one head. Yep. one head.
He's come out and said that there's a special place in hell for those who brought up Brexit without a safe plan to break from the EU. So really, really strong words.
Why doesn't he say what he means?
Yeah, well, do you know what was really interesting is that he was stood next to Leo Varadkar, who's the Irish Prime Minister, and Leo Varadkar turned to him and said, "The British press," and he was picked up on the microphone. He didn't mean it to get heard, but the British press picked up him saying, "The British press are going to hammer you for that." And Donald Tusk laughed and smiled at him and nodded. So it was completely planned. He knew, it's not completely planned. Obviously, it's completely planned. But he's got a speech, written, but he knows what he's doing. Is my point. This wasn't a mistake that Donald Trump makes, and then all of a sudden has a backlash. He knows this. He knows there's going to be a backlash for whatever reason. But you know what was more interesting, probably. I mean, that's quite provocative. But I thought what was more interesting is that he actually blamed the Remain side of the argument for not having strong enough leadership to defend the British people against this awful Brexit that's going on. which in a way is a shot across the bows against Jeremy Corbyn. Which I think is fair, completely fair. I think the leadership on the Remain side has been abysmal. I think Jeremy Corbyn has been really weak, had a weak underbelly. So it's
end of the day, nothing's changed, though, has it?
Not between no. Do you know what may be changing is that we're seeing more and more that that Jeremy Corbyn holds the key here for the Brexit debate. You know, if he backs Theresa May, we get the withdrawal deal. Maybe if he calls a second referendum, things change significantly. So I think he's the real player in all this, and it's no wonder that that Theresa May wanted to meet him. But I think she's a much more skilled politician than he is, and she may well manage to cajole him into doing exactly what she wants, which is going along with the Brexit that she's after. So yeah, maybe things are changing. Behind the scenes, to be fair, but things are changing because Jeremy Corbyn has come out and effectively almost supported the Prime Minister. He doesn't seem to be continuing in his negative rhetoric about things. So there does seem to be some support out there for her now. So I think things may well be changing, and maybe that's where Donald Tusk's frustration's coming in, because he can see that happening, and he doesn't like it, and maybe it's because of he doesn't want the UK to leave the EU, but really what he's saying is he doesn't like this Irish backstop fix that they believe that they've got, because they could be putting the peace process under a lot of strain and pressure. I mean, Theresa May came out and said that she's not going to back the she will have no hard border in Ireland, but what that means from here on in, we're not really sure. So yeah, things are changing, mate. Things are changing. I mean, they have to, don't they? We're not too far away now. We're only as I say, 49 days as far as I'm aware, away from Brexit happening.
So that is definitely going to happen at this point.
Brexit.
Yep.
Yeah. But mainly because we don't seem to have anybody on the Remain side with any kind of power or sway. The only person that could have championed this is Jeremy Corbyn, and he's because he had the popularity, but he's really shied away from all this. I mean, he's been very, very weak. So I don't see who else could all of a sudden come forward. Tony Blair's tried. John Major's tried. These are previous prime ministers that had a lot of popularity. They've not got enough support and popularity in the country. Tony Blair's stock and position is diminished significantly after the Iraq war, so he doesn't really garner any support from people. He could have done if that whole thing hadn't happened, and it's really interesting that this could be the thing that really bites him, because he never got convicted of anything for that, but maybe this is the thing that ultimately bites him, that the lack of power and influence that he now has is really starting to tell. John Major was probably very much liked but never loved, so he doesn't really have the influence either. So there's nobody, who is there, who's going to save this thing, and there's probably nobody out there, I don't think.
So we're headed towards Brexit in a month and a half, and that's very interesting.
Yeah.
After all this time, I can't say I'm sorry, because it doesn't affect me in terms of my lifestyle or anything like that. Well, it does actually, because I can resume my normal procedure and look to trade the pound and euro without any fear of a Brexit engagement throwing me into chaos.
Yes.
Wow, we're strong dollars this morning, mate. Really are.
Yeah, I mean, just bringing this also back to today. Today we have the Bank of England's inflation report. We have the MPC bank rate vote, and then monetary policy summary as well. So Carney is speaking at 12:30. So that's the big event today, I guess. Carney's speaking at 12:30 today, and if we're considering what's going on, on this side of the pond, then Brexit is first and foremost in everybody's minds, including the Bank of England. So the Bank of England's hands have been tied for the last 2 years. So I think this is probably quite an interesting report as we head towards that crucial date. So maybe this is what's going to give us the shift in the market that we've been waiting for. So volatility is picking up. Certainly with the FTSE 100, volatility is fairly high, and I think we're headed. I think it may be high because of the report we're looking to get. I haven't checked the pound.
They're both tanking.
The pound is tanking as well, is it? Okay.
Actually, I take it back. It's not the dollar; it's the euro and the pound.
So in that way, yeah, euro pound is also moving to the upside, isn't it? So the pound is seen as a pretty weak kid out here, which is not going to help this FTSE come
Race to
the
bottom
downside.
at the moment for the two.
There really is, isn't it? Yeah, the pound is weakening. Let's just see where the pound could hold. I tell you what, we were talking about the pound yesterday. Let's just have a look at how that analysis worked out. Right at the end of the day, weren't we? We were talking about this.
And what we're doing.
Yeah, so we were talking about this pound yesterday. So this is really interesting.
I haven't got my chart, so when I haven't got my charts, it's really difficult for me to remember.
You don't have charts?
I've got charts, but not my analysis charts.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so if you go back to yesterday, I'll jog your memory. Do you have pivots on your chart?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll jog your memory. If we go back to yesterday, what we were saying, there was a little range between the two pivots, between the daily pivot and the monthly pivot, sorry. Yep. Little range between the daily pivot and the monthly pivot. And what we were saying is that we would be bullish the pound, but what we needed to see was a close above the broadening pattern.
Yep.
And which would have also taken us above the pivot, and it would have also taken us above a trend line, which I think was that one there. Yeah, and there was also a trend line here. And interestingly, neither of them happened. So while that was going on, obviously, if it's not moving up, then it's moving down. Or it's trapped sideways. And because we didn't get the break to the upside, the trade was off the table. Now, trying to trade the pound down at this particular stage, I would say is... yeah, it's a bit tricky actually. The pound is almost exactly the opposite to the FTSE, where the 4 hour is embedded and oversold. So I wouldn't be keen on downside pound, to be honest. Maybe down to 1.2870, something like that. Wouldn't be too bad a spot to look for the long again. But obviously with Brexit news and Carney coming out, then maybe there's not a lot to do here with the pound.
I'm just about done looking at these charts now.
Yeah,
I'm going. We're really in a danger zone now.
We are in a danger zone.
Still keen to find the euro because it's still got room, but it's going to have to do a lot of work now.
Yeah, well, the euro. Yeah, well, I don't know why the euro's weakened, but obviously the dollar. The dollar being as strong as it is does help things like that, obviously. But
yeah, but the dollar's not performing the same against the Aussie.
That's right.
Not performing the same against the Kiwi.
Or the yen.
Or the yen.
It just held, didn't it?
It's just doing nothing. It hasn't done anything with the yen for 2 months. Had a little dip and then just back where it was.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, let me see if I can find if there's any other. No, I've got Bloomberg. So interestingly, there's not really a lot. Doesn't seem to be a lot of reporting going on. Nothing. I haven't heard anything about the Fed chair yet. Let me just bring in the actual I'm going to bring in the actual website for the Fed. Federal Reserve. No. Yeah, the markets are fairly volatile actually, but they're kind of flat. Yeah, that's what we need. Right, I'm going to bring it in and see if I can actually ascertain anything here. Welcome, speech by announces approval applications. I don't think he said it a whole bunch. Here today, and the Fed has organised this event because of the importance of economics education. Some of your students may go on to become professional economists, but all of them, I hope, will apply the valuable lessons and the skills they have gained from economics in other careers and in other aspects of their life. Studying economics, blah, da, 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 da. We have operated a program called the Fed Ed, which sends board employees into high schools. It doesn't look like there's and then he says, let me leave it there. And again, thank you for participating in this town hall, and thank you for the valuable work you do at school every day.
Nothing on monetary policy at all?
No, not one thing. Not one thing. So maybe that was a bit of a red herring. And maybe that's why the market is moving. Announces approval of applications by regional banks. Yeah, that seems to be the press release. Just approval of applications by some of the banks. There doesn't seem to be much else out there, so that's why they're not reporting on it. And actually, I'm just looking at Bloomberg, and it's all about some of these companies. You know, UniCredit's being reported on, Société Générale, after cutting Outlook, SocGen up after cut Outlook. Not sure what that is. Single stocks rather than overall big picture stuff. So doesn't look like there's anything out there except for the Bank of England's policy.
Got this funny feeling dollar yen is about to burst through the highs here.
Okay,
I can't trade it. There it is. Can't trade it from there. Because I'm drawing a line through euro, pound, Aussie, seeing the euro and the pound crash, seeing the Aussie hold its own against the dollar and appreciating against the yen. Yet the dollar against the yen hasn't done anything. Doesn't make sense to me.
What's interesting here. This is interesting because what I see with the dollar yen is, I'm going to get rid of this daily pivot for a second. On the weekly, what we have is something that attempted to become a reversal pattern. You see this bar here for everybody out there, and then we had a hold. So if the top of this bar breaks, that's really bullish. Because there's a negative bar, that means that there are going to be stops that are sat just above this point as people try to sell this one off, put their stops at the highs and slightly beyond. So if this starts to break through, those stops are going to get taken out, and this could get a decent run. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right on that. Which would probably give the stock market a boost to the upside as well. So I think I could be looking at a FTSE continuing to move higher here. As I say, my suspicion with a FTSE, and I'm going to bring that back up again now. My suspicion with this FTSE is that we end up somewhere in this area, maybe even up here, which is around about 60 pips higher. Now, if we do end up there, my preference would be to see if the market will come down a little bit, and I'll probably take the trade off the table at that point. But yeah, that may well happen, that we end up in that particular area rather than coming down. So I'm wondering whether this week we end up actually getting a pretty bullish bar. We might even be waiting, a couple of weeks. Traditionally, it's February that drifts to the downside, from the middle of February that the FTSE 100 seasonally would just drift down, but without crashing. So that would support this inverted head and shoulders formation. So if we can move to the upside, maybe hold this week, maybe even hold next week with some sort of reversal pattern or reversal bar on the weekly. Maybe after that we start to drift to the downside. So we could be looking at a couple of weeks. Which, if I need to hold on to this, then I will do. As long as it doesn't close above these highs here. If it closes above these highs, then I think the strategy is going to have to change.
Okay, got to be versatile.
Yeah, exactly, mate. I mean, it's one of those, isn't it? Because I could close this trade, but the reason I'm not keen to do that is because if the Fed chair has come out and said something that has boosted something, I don't know what, this market is volatile, and it's the bullish price action. If we look at this on a 5-minute chart, or a 15 even, that this bar tells us all we need to know about the morning so far. This tells us a lot, that there's bullish sentiment out there this morning. However, I think there's still going to be doubts at this high level. And why, if we have a catalyst, we see what happens when you have an announcement. What tends to happen after an announcement is you get a rip in the market or a dip in the market that happens very, very quickly. So if the Fed chair was the catalyst, why didn't this rip or dip? So that kind of suggests that we're still in no man's land. Nothing was really said of significance that could change things. So that's another reason I'm okay to hold now until I see, what's the catalyst, what's actually going to take this thing forward with some momentum, and it could be that we're looking at that Bank of England announcement possibly, which could shape this. So I'm waiting for at least 3.5 hours minimum here.
Yeah, I think you're probably going to be in a very similar spot, unless somebody preempts what's going to happen. But it's very, very tough to say. The speech from Carney will probably be the one, I guess.
Yeah, it's he's been known to move it before. So yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't be him.
But see, I've got very little interest in the market, I've got to say today. The only thing that really interests me is, guess what? Euro dollar.
Okay.
And that's only because if it does go, I don't want to miss it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's same philosophy for me.
I'll be really pissed if I don't get it at this price. That's the thing.
So what we looking at? We're looking for a long.
Yeah, but now it's got to do so much work. I've got to get a reversal bar at least. That
Are we
could
looking
happen
at the 30?
I'm on the 30. Yeah.
Yep.
That could happen with this bar. Could be a hammer. Then we've got to see price rally on that, but then pull back and give me a higher low.
Okay, so what you're
after, a lot of work to do.
Is to break through the 136 area, 1.1336 area.
I'll give you a level. Hang on, tick. Dash. Very awkward with these small screens. Okay, so we've got to hit a trend line that goes from the high of the 25th.
The 25th of January.
The 5th of this month.
So
2.5 days ago.
Yeah.
Actually, not it's the lower of the two highs.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah.
Down through the high on the, not the high, it's the pullback at 3 o'clock on the 6th, and just touching the high of today.
Yep.
So
Gotcha.
that line there.
Yep.
If we come back to that line there, pull off it.
Yep.
And then we get a just even a tiny little higher low there.
Okay.
Then I'm happy to go.
Okay. So we're looking
But
at
that's minimum. There's nothing else. I can't go earlier than that.
Yeah.
And that's
so
likely to save me if this continues to go short. Then that's a security thing.
Yes. I see. So we are after touching this level, coming back, creating a higher low, and then looking for a long above that particular area.
That's the idea, mate.
Yeah. Okay,
or
mate.
even
All right.
at the high of whatever reversal bar we get it as a second reversal bar, not first.
Okay, so this hammer. Well, we're looking for this to create some sort of hammer here.
Yep.
Yeah, and then seeing if that can get a boost. Now I don't know. I still don't know what is. Oh, what's happened there? I still don't know what is driving this market, but
no, it's
I've now
curdling.
lost one. Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it really is. It's a strange day, and it could just be that the Bank of England is driving the market because of the anticipation of what may be said. I don't know. It could be just one of those weeks where the market holds, because you're going to get them, aren't you? I mean, it's it gets to a level, and if the market trends only 30 or 40% of the time, then the rest of the time it does have to go into sideways consolidation, and maybe that's what we're just getting for the next days. We're just going to get some consolidation. So best just to sit this one out and let it unfold.
In terms of the week, if the week continues as is, we're going to have a very bearish euro. We're going to have a very bearish pound. We're going to have a very bearish Aussie. We're going to have let me check. What else have I got up here against the dollar? We're going to have a massively bearish Kiwi. So you turn that all around, the dollar's had a real ripper of a week if it can use in this vein.
Yes, yeah, that's very true. Very true.
Everything except the yen to date.
Yeah, which I still find quite surprising. But I wonder if something's happened. Something's happened that I'm not able to be aware of. If anybody's out there and they can find out what's happened and why this market has reacted in the way it has, then certainly I'd appreciate it. Normally I'm able to get on top of this stuff, but I don't seem to be able to do that today.
Did I give you that trade that I've got? I don't think I did.
Yes. Which trade?
Pound yen on the daily. I hesitate to give it now because of the news that's upcoming.
Okay.
Look, I think I'll still stay in it. There's plenty of room for a bit of a whipsaw here, where we've got enough, I think, in the tank in terms of size. So
do you want to share it?
Sorry?
You want to share it?
I can't share the screen.
No. I mean the levels.
The numbers, yeah, sure.
Yep. So this is on a daily chart.
Daily charts.
Yeah.
I've got an entry at 142.55.
142. Hold on one second. 142.55.
I've got a stop loss at 141.71.
141.71.
I'm going to take first profit at 142.85.
First profit is make that yellow. 14285.
Yep, I'm going to take 40% off at that time.
Yep.
My second take profit level is at 143.55.
Second take profit. Let's bring that in as well. Oops.
143.55.
143.55. Okay, let me
You're going to
make
take
that.
30% off at that time.
You're going to take 30%.
30% off.
Yeah, so 40%, 30%. Yep.
Yep, and let the rest run at trailing 2 bars.
Okay, great. So this is a daily entry. Jeff is getting in at 142.55. Stops are at this level down here, which I might make a slightly different color. And this is a. Oh, that didn't really help. Ah, sorry, mate. My stop area's moved again. The stop value was 141.
71, I think, from memory. Hang on a sec.
55, is it?
I'll bring it back. 141.71.
71, 171. Sorry. Okay, I'm not going to play with that then. All right, let's have a look at that on an hourly. So you can see this is the entry here, which I might thicken up a little bit. That'll make it easier. This is the entry here. So really above the
It's a breakout on the alley. Yeah.
It's a breakout, nice breakout, isn't it? Because it's that's going to be above the price action here under the consolidation, just above the consolidation area. So if it breaks the consolidation area, then nice place to take profit as well. So just looking for it to break the consolidation area just for 30 pips. And then looking just beyond the weekly pivot there for the second take profit.
Yeah, it's a little bit ambitious, isn't it, really? But yeah, okay. Let's drop that down below it. That's far more sensible.
Okay, so we're going to drop that down just a little bit below the weekly pivot. So say 143.30.
Yep, that'll do.
Okay, so we're going to put that at 143.30. Because, and the good thing about that is that by this point, by the weekly pivot, 70% will be off. And then we're moving stops to break even. I suppose trade management is doesn't have to be talked about, but if we can get to that 143.30 level, then there's still 30% left on the
that
trade.
We can play with.
Yeah, that can be played with, which is really good, because really when it comes down to it, if any of us can get into a trade with a pound, then we're in pretty good shape. How long does this stay on the market, mate? Is this staying in the market for a day, for 2 days, until next week?
Look, if you're prepared to go through the news today,
yeah,
and you don't get profit or you don't get taken into the trade, I would cancel it end of day.
End of today. Okay. All right. So let me just check something here then. Why does it keep doing that? I wonder. Okay, I'm just going to quickly check it as well on something else. Now, okay. Okay, yeah, I quite like that actually. Yeah, oversold there. All right, so that's our trade. Yeah, that looks pretty good, doesn't it? I actually see some building down there as well. Building of momentum. So
we'll see, mate. And
yeah,
of course, the other one is the euros I've just described to you, and that's unlikely to happen at this stage, but we'll see.
It does seem that way, doesn't it? I think the thing with this pound trade, which is pretty good, is that as long as the euro is attempting to make a hammer down there, which is good on the hourly, as long as the Bank of England announcement doesn't drag price action too far to the highs just before it, I think this is going to look even better. You know, if we kind of want it down here, don't we, in the next few hours? Because that means that if it is to go to the upside, it'll probably be on some decent momentum, and it'll probably take it through straight away. Whereas up here, you could get a little whipsaw. So that's the only danger, I think, for everybody that everybody needs to be aware of. You know, just before that announcement, you may choose to hop out of the trade if it's too close to this particular area.
Agreed. Absolutely.
But
There's
the only
nothing
problem
worse
with that,
than trade
no, it's terrible, isn't it? The problem with that is that it may be giving you a buy signal. You know, if you haven't read it properly, it might be giving you a buy signal up here near these highs, and people hop out, and actually it's just because the market knew what was going to happen, and it actually does carry on through. So I think you have to make sure you can recognize a buy signal in this area, and if there is one, it's well worth staying with it. And a buy signal that I would probably look for is it's a break of somewhere around here. I mean, again, we're going to have to look at this on a line chart, I suggest.
There's another way to look at it when you're done as well.
Okay, that's at 55. I can't get control of this mouse at all at the minute.
You should try my end.
Oh yeah. You're having even worse time, aren't you? But that would be a possibility if it breaks through and holds this level on a line chart. So I would switch your view to a line chart if you're going to be if we're going to be near this area. If you're going to be just a little bit more confident about holding, I'd want it to make sure it's held and maybe back tested that. Let's have a look at your view as well, mate. What were you going to say on this?
Okay, go to the second highest high on the chart.
The second highest high. This one?
No, on the whole chart.
This one?
Yep.
Yep.
Trend line down.
Aha, yes.
Through there. Yeah, through that high. Beautiful. Okay.
This one here.
No. Exactly where you were.
Okay. Oh yeah.
And now, no, it's not going to work. But anyway, same thing.
I like that.
What we're getting, yeah, you see what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
If there was now to be a break of the previous candle, the red bar, the bear bar, that is a big bull signal.
I really like that.
So,
you see, if anybody wanted to be aggressive on this,
you could take it there. Yeah.
Yeah, you could take it at the break of this bar instead. You know, if it ends up forming like that, obviously. But the fact that we've got that hold, and I have to say there are some indicators which are suggesting that that this wouldn't be a bad area for a hold as well. So you could take a break of this line here, and then look to see if it does break those highs, and go on through. Maybe even make the trade safe. I'm not sure if you'd want to make the trade too safe, but that you could say aggressively, but maybe conservative in your money in the amount that's going into the trade. That's another way to play this from here on in.
Yep.
Tricky day, mate. Tricky day. I'm just looking at the FTSE 100, just putting in some buy signals on the 5-minute chart and the 15 actually. And I want to talk about this because let's think about the significance of this. This is a buy signal. This is a buy area here. The 15 is maybe a little bit more confused, but it's a buy area when we consider that we kind of had this going on here. And a break now of that area does suggest that it's more likely to kind of like boost itself to the upside. So the significance for me about this is that the small bits of detail suggest that that we are probably continuing to attempt to push to the upside. Maybe later in the day we put in something similar on a 5-minute chart which suggests some downside. But it kind of, and it's really loose to say this, but it kind of suggests that we may well be heading for quite a lot of choppy price action, up into the Bank of England statement. In actual fact, this line might even be here. I think it is. Yeah, that line's there. So that's why that's a little buy signal. So it just suggests that it's going to attempt to get through these highs. Now we have to watch out for this area up here, because this is what we're really looking at. But little little intraday 5-minute trends. I think people will probably be out there playing, be quite happy to sit out there and play. There's probably maybe 15 pips to the upside that could be grabbed by some of these scalpers, but that's this is a headed for a scalpers market now. Anybody interested in scalping? Actually, this is almost the perfect market to do it, isn't it? When you kind of have a channel, these sideways consolidation on a longer term time frame, and then you're looking for buy signals on a short term time frame. I'm just going to bring you an example of this. Let's say this area here. Little area here. I'm just going to mark it off here. Now, when we look at this on a 5, we'll go back and look at this on a 5. It could take a while. Here we go. So when we look at this on a 5, we're just looking for a trend from the lows to the highs. Now you can't say that the first low is tradable because you don't know it's a channel at that point. But from here on in, you can. And you see this low down here again. There's a little trend, I suppose, there. Certainly a little trend that you could pick up here. Another one here. When you see that higher low there, another one there. That's kind of these kind of areas are a scalper's paradise. And the thing about this is that while those scalpers are trading these areas, they're always leaving a little bit on the table, because if they can get a breakout, then obviously they've got a much tighter area to try and get their trade on than anybody else. And scalpers every now and again can get something that does this. And that's 115 pips on something that would have been a scalp, which probably would have been entered on this this area here, in this area here, with a stop at the low there. So 30 pip stop and looks like a 90 pip gain in a 3-to-1 in a matter of 4 hours.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's a very specific skill, isn't it? That kind of thing. And I think that you're probably much more equipped to do that stuff than I am. It used to be something that I used to. It used to be my kind of my single approach, my one approach to trading. But now it's just part of my entry approach rather than anything else. But and what it does mean is that if I'd entered this trade on a scalp, then I would have been stopped out by now. Or to be fair, I probably would have taken profit, because I think it came down enough first. Let me see. It was yesterday, so that was the 5th. Oh yeah. Now I entered at around the first bar in the morning, which was here. So I entered short here. Actually, yeah, I would have been stopped out. So yeah, now I just kind of use it as part of my approach and hope that I get a slightly better entry, because I'm looking for something to happen on a 5-minute chart, but I don't use it as a place to put stops anymore.
Yeah, look, I do it very similarly, but on the 30-minute chart, it's as long as I've got a defined range or a defined channel, then more than happy to trade off the top and the bottom. But I do need that confirmation. I don't just trade as soon as they hit it.
Yeah,
too tough for me.
Yeah.
But the confirmation, love it. I think it's a great way to trade.
Yeah, I do. I really like that as well. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It takes a skill, doesn't it? It takes a while, doesn't it, to ascertain that in some ways that you almost get kind of drawn into this being your main chart. I think when you start scalping, you think it's all about the 5-minute chart, but obviously that's not the key to a good scalp. you know, the key to a good scalp is to come out to a wider time frame and then try and find those entries within it, within that time frame. As I say, you know, just as we were looking at the 4 hour, but creating a range, then we're looking at 5-minute trends within that 4 hour, because, you know, every chart is a trend and every chart is a range depending on what time frame you're looking at. If you're looking at a weekly range, then there's going to be 4 hour trends within that weekly range. And the same, you know, every time you come down a time frame, there's you know, might have an hourly range, but there's going to be 5-minute trends within that range. And I think that's the key, is to make sure that you spot what's going on the longer term time frame and then start to mine in, rather than the other way around. You know, look to mine in first, get your entries, then go, whoops, didn't see that area of resistance was coming up on a wider time frame.
No, got around me.
Yeah.
Well, we got our hammer.
Yes, we yeah, we got a hammer, but it's not finished yet, right? Or were you looking on the
30-minute charts have? Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm seeing it also potentially form on an hourly here. Great. So what's the plan now? Oh, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah, same plan, no change. Just wait, like it to hit that resistance trend line on the euro, and pull back away from it, and then deliver a higher low, and then we can trade the break.
I think this euro is almost case in point, actually. When we kind of look at this euro, what we're looking at is a potential for an hour. I mean, that hammer on the hourly is looking really clear and strong. I really like that. This is almost a great place to start looking for a scalp, isn't it, on a 5-minute chart, or certainly a nice entry on a 5-minute chart. It's not very clear though. The 5-minute chart's not very good here, actually. Yeah.
Well, you need that dip. Well, I would need that dip back down.
Yes, me too. Yeah, me too. Doesn't look very good, does it? Because it's, you know, that this could start to become almost a bear flag, and that's what we got to be aware of when you look at this on a 5-minute chart. Then you kind of get that look about it, with our flagpole like that. I mean, to be fair, the flagpoles, sorry, the actual flag has far too many bars in it to really qualify as a flag anymore. But you'd still have to be careful that doesn't happen. Taking you down there.
You know, by the look of the chart, could easily happen.
Yeah, and yes, you're absolutely right. I mean, we are, you know, the price action is bearish, and anybody that wants to try and scalp this one is at this particular stage going to be still fighting probably something fairly strong.
You're really swimming against the tide here. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Which obviously is where the profit is going to be. I think a break through that level might be an attractive point for a little entry for those scalpers out there. What do you think?
What chart's that?
It's a 5-minute chart.
That's the 5-minute. Oh god.
Yeah, I mean, what I'd certainly want to see this finish with a hammer on the hourly. You know, if we get this hourly hammer, then that would actually give us a break through with a 5, and then as that returns, there's a potential entry there, trading that right to the highs and possibly beyond. So
daily pivot.
Yeah,
beautiful target.
Yeah, it would be a great target, wouldn't it? I don't know what people's thoughts are on that necessarily, but that is an option. Well, I think we may as well wrap up, mate. I don't really have too much going on here.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm not much of a contributor without charts, I've got to say, but
it's pretty much having you in. Yeah, I mean, it's actually still been really useful looking at these, because actually I've been a little bit more proactive in bringing in what you're looking at, so it's been pretty good.
Cool. It's nice to sit here and dictate, not have to do
anything. That's the way life should be, mate.
Siri, draw a trend line.
Okay, guys. Well, have a great rest of day. You've got a potential trade to the upside on the euro with a target up here at the daily pivot, stops at the lows. Just waiting for a break and a retest. You've got a FTSE 100 trade, which is kind of going pretty much nowhere so far, but looks like it's going to try and get back to the highs of the channel here. So it's going to try and get back up there somehow. It's not too far away now, probably another 10 pips or so, and maybe beyond. You know, it could break through. And the way you choose to manage that, so that's probably a target up there to the upside. The way you choose to manage that is going to be down to your particular appetite and your particular strategy. Now, I would encourage all of you, if you are trading with either Jeff or I, to make sure that that if you see the same thing as we do and you are trading a specific strategy and it lines up, then I would trade it that way, because taking our advice without having a clear idea of what you want to do is not really a good idea. You know, you'd certainly want, even with this sort of thing, you know, I might pick out this level and say that the price is going to be drawn up there, and that would be a target. But you need to know where you're going to put your stops, how you're going to manage it, you know, where you're going to take profit areas and all that kind of thing. That is strategy dependent. So yeah, just a word of caution that
yes, the micromanaged is variable, dependent on pretty much eyesight at the end of the day when price is moving. So
yeah,
it is a bit to say these are absolute levels that we're going to do this at. That's absolutely true.
Yeah. So yeah, just a word of warning there. Euro is starting to take off, mate. I see the euro is actually potentially going to form a little morning star on the 30-minute chart.
We'll see.
Well, we're only five minutes off. Let me just bring the euro back up here. Only 5 minutes off this closing. So obviously it is the most significant 5 minutes, incidentally, for everybody out there. You know, the how the market closes is the important thing. So this is where you will see the greatest amount of price action traditionally in a time frame. So we look at this on a 30-minute chart here. If I boost this up so you can see it properly, this is starting to try and create a morning star. Now, a morning star needs this third bar to close at least 2/3 into this first bar, close into it. So it needs to be closed up here. So if that doesn't get up there, then the signal is completely negated. But watch that over the next 5 minutes and see if it does, because that's going to be a fairly bullish signal on the euro. Okay, mate. Well, we've done pretty well. So let's get back in on Monday. Everything back to normal for you on Monday?
Not sure, mate.
Okay.
Not sure of my commitments. I'll be available though.
Okay.
But I may be in this situation again. I'll see if I can work out why the screen won't share, and if that's the case, and we'll go from there.
Okay, mate. All right. Have a good weekend, and
you too, mate.
I'll see you same trade time, same trade channel on Monday.
Happy days, everyone. Have a good weekend.
See you guys.